Alright, what's up guys? My name is Zach, and this week I've been driving the 2024 Chevy Equinox RS all-wheel drive. Up front is a 1.5 liter turbocharged inline-4, and down below is an 8-speed automatic transmission. Now I am super excited to be making this video because I've spent the last 7 days driving this Equinox RS, and this is actually the second most mileage I've ever put on a press vehicle, only being beaten out by the Toyota GR86. I've done almost 500 miles in this Equinox RS, and so I have plenty of thoughts to share with you today. But if you would like to submit your own vehicle and have it reviewed here on the channel, much like this Equinox is here today, you can head on over to my website, zachpreto.com/submit. But let's get back to that 1.5 liter turbocharged inline-4 under the hood. And they've used this engine for quite a long time, actually. We saw it also in like the Malibu and some of their sedans, but they've worked it up to the Equinox over time. It makes 175 horsepower and 203 foot-pounds of torque. Does it feel underpowered? No, actually, it doesn't really feel underpowered. I'm not really worried about acceleration. On-ramps on the highway weren't worrisome either. And so it was actually a pretty blended experience, all things considered. What does worry me, however, is the reliability. Small displacement turbo engines kind of, I guess, freak me out, for lack of better terms. So I would just worry about the long-term maintenance required with this particular engine. Now, like I said, paired to it is an 8-speed automatic transmission. It's fine, it's doing the job, and I just love the fact that it is not a CVT. Last but not least, as the title and name suggests, this is all-wheel drive, which can be toggled actually on and off with a button, and we'll talk about that with the interior. Fuel economy! What have I been averaging over my nearly 500 miles? About 25.5 miles to the gallon. Now, I will say a large chunk of it is highway driving, but over my 500 miles, I've done 25.5 miles to the gallon, which I have to say I'm pretty happy with and is above average for the press car that I've been getting this year. So how does it feel to actually drive the Equinox RS? Well, it's not really anything special, and that's going to be a theme throughout the rest of the video. Its steering is nice and comfortable, visibility is good enough, acceleration is fine. I don't really notice any weird rattles, squeaks, or beeps, or it doesn't go over bumps weird. It's a really regular driving experience. We'll talk more about that towards the end of the video. But with that being said, let's get on to the interior. Well, in front of me, I have 4 gauges and a screen. Off to the left is my tachometer, in the center is my fuel and coolant temperature, and off to the right is my speedometer. I also do get that little information gauge down below. I can switch with the buttons on the steering wheel. GM has always been very good about giving you tons of information when you want it, and I really praise that about the Equinox. On the steering wheel, on the left, we have our adaptive cruise control settings, as well as our heated steering wheel and lane keep assist. And off to the right, we have our voice commands, phone options, and selectors for that gauge cluster screen. Off to the left, I have a climate control vent, gauge dimmer switch, and headlight switches. And moving out of the door, we have lock and unlock, power mirrors, and power windows. Annoyingly, the driver's window is the only automatic one. All the rest you have to hold. Kind of annoying. Underneath those buttons, we do get a power tailgate button, which will also allow you to only open it 3/4 in case you have a low-hanging garage or a bike rack on the back. Moving into the center, we do have our touchscreen infotainment display. This uses GM's current system, and I like it. Very intuitive, very easy to use. A couple of apps I really like are the camera systems, which this does have a 360 camera, has been an absolute godsend while parking this vehicle. I love this system. Very clear and concise and works really well as you get a bunch of different views that I've been showing. And of course, we do have Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, both of which are wireless. You can also set a teen driving mode that will limit the volume and speed of the vehicle. And overall, I have to say I'm pretty happy with this little infotainment screen. Down below that, we have our home button, skip track, volume, and back, as well as our automatic start-stop on and off button, and the hazard switch. GM used to not give you the ability to turn off the auto start, so I love that they now do it for 2024. Then we do have our climate controls, dual zone, of course, heated seats as well. auto, and they are all physical. I don't have to fumble through any screens to try to find this stuff, and I love that. Really, really great feature. Down below, we have USB-C, USB-A, aux, 12-volt outlet, and an SD card for the navigation. Tons of different plugins down there in that giant cubby. Then we move on to the shifter stack. We have the all-wheel drive button, so you can engage and disengage this whenever you want. Our parking sensors off to the right, shifter off to the left, very standard shifter from GM. I believe this was even in like the Camaro and vehicles like that. The mechanism feels very, very standard to me. Power parking brake down below, and then off to the right, we have cup holders. So we will do a big friggin' bottle test here in the Chevy Equinox RS, and unfortunately it fails, but to be expected here in this particular vehicle. Then we do have this little random cubby at the back of the center console, and then inside the center console we have two USB-A outlets as well as a little cargo divider you can pull out. Now the seats are heated and power, and they have been pretty comfortable. They do have these little RS rubber badges on them that I really like, that little attention to detail. And overall, over the 500 miles, they've been comfortable, and I don't really have any notes for them. However, speaking of seats, we do have back seats, so let's go do a backseat review. All right, so we're in the back of the 2024 Chevy Equinox RS, and a couple of things to note. First of all, we do have climate vents back here. Lovely, lovely to see that, so your rear seat occupants are not going to freeze or overheat. We also have USB-A and a wall outlet all the way down at the bottom, so this was actually very helpful for charging my remote control cars while out and about. The overall seating is decently nice. It's a little bit hard, but kind of what to be expected, and the seating space is actually wonderful. This is my driving position. I have plenty of space in front of my knees. The passenger has even more space, so tons and tons to talk about and tons to love in the back of the Equinox RS. However, this is not a 3-row SUV, so if you do want a 3-row, you're going to have to go up to the Traverse or, of course, the Tahoe Suburban, vehicles like that. Let's hop out. We'll take a quick look at the trunk and cargo space, and then we'll talk about the looks. All right, around the back of the Chevy Equinox RS all-wheel drive, one touch button there, and it does have a power tailgate. Now, once we are in the back, as you can see, my remote control cars are shedding their paint. Don't love that. But anyway, once we are back here, of course, the second row of seats does go down. You can pull that here, and we can pull this up. We have some storage down below there. So some nice CDs back here. Nothing too crazy or out of this world, but definitely enough space. And I would say in this category of car, again, sort of in my head comparing it to like the Mazda CX-5, Toyota RAV4, vehicles like that, it's definitely very adequate in terms of size, and you'll love to see that. Now we gotta talk about the looks, and this is finished in Lakeshore Blue Metallic, and I love the color. GM has faults, like every car company does, but something they perfect nearly every time is the paint colors. They have had wonderful paint colors going all the way back to the 1950s, and if you want good paint, GM is the place to go. The overall look of the RS Equinox, I could take it or leave it. It's fine. So with all of that being said, let's get on to my final thoughts. What do I think having driven the Equinox RS for 500 miles? Well, I don't love it, but I also don't hate it. And that's kind of a tricky situation to be in. I've enjoyed having the heated seats. It's been perfect for me on the highway. I fit all my luggage and all my filming equipment in the back. It's been responsive and reliable, and it's gotten me where I needed to go. And I'm very appreciative of that. This week was a rather driving intensive week for me, over 500 miles. I even drove my Mazda 3 to some video shoots just because I didn't want to go over the mileage cap. And so this car has picked up the slack. However, anytime anyone asked me about it, my answer was always, it's fine. It's just fine. The issue with the Equinox is that there's nothing really gripping me or pulling me towards wanting to purchase one of these. If I want a vehicle in this class and segment around this price that drives the best, I'll go with the Mazda CX-5. If I want a vehicle in this segment that's going to be the most reliable, I'll go with the Toyota RAV4. If I want a vehicle in this segment that's going to be the most efficient, I'll go with the Honda CR-V Hybrid. There's nothing to grab onto, and so when this car gets picked up and taken away from my possession tomorrow, I'm not going to miss it. I probably won't even feel a thing. And that is the biggest tragedy of all. This car will never get mentioned. It won't get talked about. And although people buy them in droves, and they're actually pretty popular, driving around town, I saw so many Equinoxes, you'll never find someone that truly loves them. You'll never find someone that says, oh, my favorite car, it's the Chevy Equinox. It's always, what did my job buy me? A Chevy Equinox. So unfortunately, that's the life that this car is going to live. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Huge thank you to Chevy for sending me this Equinox for the last week to drive. Chevy's been absolutely awesome to work with. Huge shout out to G. Schmidt as well for facilitating the delivery and cleaning of the vehicle. And of course, the Midwestern Automotive Media Association for just being so awesome. But I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Don't forget to rate the video, comment on the video, and subscribe if you really liked it. Take care, guys.